The crystal palace of Vorthak stretched across 3 moons, its spires gleaming like frozen starlight. Within its highest tower, Emperor Zixthul gazed down at his youngest offspring with barely concealed disgust. The dragon child lay motionless on a bed of precious metals, her once brilliant scales now dull and cracked like old parchment. Worthless, the Emperor hissed, his massive form casting shadows across the medical chamber, a disgrace to the bloodline. Prince Veltar, the Emperor's eldest son, nodded in agreement. His golden scales rippled with health and power. Father, perhaps it would be merciful to end her suffering. The court whispers that keeping her alive only brings shame to our dynasty. The sick dragon child, Princess Kiara, could barely lift her head. Her breathing came in ragged gasps and strange purple spots covered her weakened body. The finest doctors in the galaxy had examined her, all reaching the same conclusion: an incurable genetic defect that would slowly drain her life force until nothing remained. The bloodline must remain pure, Emperor Zixthul declared. I will not waste resources on a defective heir. Move her to the abandoned wing. Let her fade away where she cannot embarrass us further. Dr. Vexim, the court's chief physician, bowed low. Your Majesty, with respect, the child still has some time left. Perhaps proper care could ease her final days. The Emperor's eyes blazed with fury. I said move her. Assign minimal staff, no one of importance. Let the universe forget she ever existed. As the medical team prepared to relocate the dying princess, a figure watched from the shadows of the corridor. Marcus Chen, a human custodian, had been cleaning the palace halls when he overheard the conversation. His weathered hands gripped his cleaning supplies tighter as he witnessed the cold dismissal of a suffering child. Marcus had served in the palace for 3 years, ever since humanity had been granted servant status in the Draconic Empire. Most humans were considered little more than intelligent pets, useful for menial tasks but beneath the notice of the ruling class. He had learned to be invisible, to clean around the nobles without drawing attention to himself. But this was different. This was a child being abandoned to die alone. The relocation happened quickly. Princess Kiara was moved to a dusty wing of the palace that had been sealed for decades. The room smelled of neglect and abandonment. A single medical droid was assigned to monitor her vital signs, nothing more. The Emperor's orders were clear. Let nature take its course. Marcus continued his regular duties, but his thoughts kept returning to the forgotten princess. During his breaks, he found excuses to clean near the abandoned wing. Through a crack in the door, he could see her lying motionless, alone except for the mechanical beeping of the medical droid. On the 3rd day, Marcus made a decision that would change everything. He quietly slipped into the abandoned wing during the night shift, when most of the palace staff were asleep. The medical droid barely acknowledged his presence. After all, he was just a human custodian. Princess Kiara's eyes were open, staring at the ceiling with a look of profound sadness. When she noticed Marcus, she tried to speak but only managed a weak whisper. Please, she said in the common tongue, her voice barely audible. Don't let me die alone. Marcus felt his heart break. In that moment, royal bloodlines and species differences meant nothing. Here was a scared, dying child who had been abandoned by everyone who should have protected her. You're not alone, Marcus said softly, setting down his cleaning supplies. I'm here. He pulled up a chair beside her bed, ignoring every protocol that forbade a human from sitting in the presence of dragon royalty. Princess Kiara's eyes widened with surprise. No one had spoken to her with such kindness in months. What's your name? She whispered. Marcus. Marcus Chen. I'm going to take care of you. Over the following nights, Marcus began a secret routine. After completing his assigned duties, he would slip into the abandoned wing with food, medicine, and most importantly, companionship. He learned that Princess Kiara loved stories about distant worlds and ancient battles. Her brilliant mind was trapped in a failing body, hungry for knowledge and connection. Marcus shared tales from Earth's history, stories of human courage, sacrifice, and determination. He told her about scientists who never gave up searching for cures, about ordinary people who became heroes when faced with impossible odds. Princess Kiara listened with growing fascination, her eyes brightening for the first time in months. Humans sound remarkable, she said one night, her voice stronger than before. Your species never stops fighting even when everything seems hopeless. We're stubborn that way, Marcus replied with a gentle smile. My grandmother used to say that humans have a special talent for refusing to accept the impossible. As days passed, Marcus began researching Princess Kiara's condition in the palace archives. Using his limited access to medical databases, he studied everything he could find about dragon genetics and rare diseases. Most of the information was beyond his understanding, but his human determination drove him to keep searching. The medical droid reported that Princess Kiara's condition had stabilized, though it attributed this to natural fluctuation rather than any external factors. The royal family remained uninterested in her progress, focused instead on preparations for Prince Veltar's upcoming coronation ceremony. One evening, as Marcus sat reading to the princess from an ancient book of legends, she suddenly grabbed his hand with surprising strength. "Marcus," she said, her eyes filled with tears, "why are you helping me? You could get in terrible trouble. Humans who disobey dragon nobles are severely punished." Marcus looked into her eyes and saw not a dragon princess, but a frightened child who had been failed by everyone in her life. His answer came from the deepest part of his humanity. "Because it's right," he said simply. "Because every child deserves someone who cares about them. Because your life has value no matter what anyone else says." Princess Kiara squeezed his hand tighter, and for the first time in months, she smiled. It was a small smile, weak and fragile, but it carried the weight of hope. Neither of them knew that their bond would soon challenge the very foundations of the Draconic Empire, or that Marcus's simple act of compassion would unlock secrets that could save not just one dragon princess, but reshape the galaxy itself. Weeks turned into months, and Marcus's secret visits became the highlight of Princess Kiara's existence. Her physical condition remained poor, but her spirit had awakened. She eagerly awaited their conversations, storing up questions throughout the day to ask her human friend when darkness fell over the palace. "Tell me more about human medicine," she requested one night, propping herself up on her elbows with effort. "How do your people treat diseases that seem incurable?" Marcus pulled out a small tablet he had smuggled from the lower levels, showing her images from Earth's medical history. "We have something called clinical trials. When traditional treatments fail, we experiment carefully, testing new approaches step by step. But that's forbidden," Princess Kiara said, her eyes wide. "Dragon medicine follows ancient protocols. Deviation from established treatments is considered heresy." "Maybe that's the problem," Marcus replied thoughtfully. "Sometimes the old ways aren't enough. Sometimes you need to try something completely different." Their conversations had sparked an idea in Marcus's mind. During his day shifts, he began observing the palace's medical wing more carefully. He watched Dr. Vexum treating various ailments with the same traditional remedies that had been used for centuries. The dragon doctors were brilliant within their established knowledge, but they seemed incapable of thinking beyond conventional boundaries. Marcus remembered his sister Sarah, who had worked as a research assistant at a hospital on Earth. She had often complained about how rigid thinking prevented breakthrough discoveries. The most important medical advances, she had told him, came from people who dared to question everything. One afternoon, while cleaning Dr. Vexum's office, Marcus overheard a conversation between the chief physician and his assistant. "The Emperor's daughter's genetic markers are unlike anything in our databases," Dr. Vexum was saying. "The protein structures are completely foreign, as if her DNA contains sequences from an unknown species. Perhaps it's a mutation caused by the illness," the assistant suggested. "No, that's impossible. These sequences appear to be naturally occurring, not damage from disease." "It's almost as if—" Dr. Vexum paused, then shook his head. "No, the idea is preposterous." Marcus continued cleaning, but his mind raced. That evening, he shared the conversation with Princess Kiara, who listened with growing excitement. "Unknown genetic sequences," she whispered. "Marcus, what if my condition isn't really a disease at all? What if it's something else entirely?" "What do you mean?" Princess Kiara struggled to sit up straighter, her excitement overriding her physical weakness. "In the ancient texts I've been reading, there are legends about dragons who could bond with other species. They were called the Bridgebloods because they could form connections that transcended racial boundaries." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. "But those are just legends, right?" "Maybe not. What if I'm not dying from a genetic defect? What if I'm transforming into something the medical databases don't recognize?" Her eyes blazed with possibility. "What if I need a cross-species bond to complete the transformation?" The idea seemed impossible, but Marcus had learned not to dismiss Princess Kiara's insights. Her intelligence was extraordinary, and she had access to ancient dragon texts that few others had ever studied. How would we test such a theory? Marcus asked. Physical contact, extended deliberate contact between our species. If the legends are true, bonding should stabilize my condition and unlock abilities that neither dragons nor humans possess alone. Marcus hesitated. The risk was enormous. If they were discovered, he would certainly be executed, and Princess Kiara would face punishment far worse than neglect. But looking at her hopeful face, he realized they had no choice. Without intervention, she would die anyway. What do we need to do? Princess Kiara explained the bonding ritual from the ancient texts. It required sustained physical contact, while both participants focused their life force on connection rather than separation. For dragons, this meant suppressing their natural dominance instincts. For humans, it meant opening their minds to thoughts and experiences far beyond normal human comprehension. They began the next night. Marcus placed his hands on Princess Kiara's scaled forehead, and she wrapped her weak claws around his wrists. At first, nothing happened except an odd tingling sensation, but as minutes passed, Marcus began to feel something extraordinary. Images flashed through his mind. Not his own memories, but Princess Kiara's. He saw the palace from her perspective, felt the crushing loneliness of her abandonment, experienced the sharp intelligence trapped within her failing body. More surprisingly, he felt her accessing his memories in return. This is incredible, Princess Kiara whispered, her voice stronger than it had been in months. I can feel your determination, your compassion. It's like fire in my mind burning away the darkness. Marcus felt changes in his own body. His senses became sharper, his thoughts clearer. It was as if Princess Kiara's dragon intellect was enhancing his human perspective, while his human resilience was strengthening her weakened form. They maintained the connection for an hour before exhaustion forced them to break contact. Both were trembling, but Princess Kiara's scales had noticeably brightened, and Marcus felt energized despite the late hour. It's working, she breathed. I can feel my strength returning. Over the following weeks, they repeated the bonding ritual nightly. Each session brought dramatic improvements to Princess Kiara's condition. Her scales regained their luster, her breathing became clear and strong, and her appetite returned with surprising intensity. More remarkably, both of them began manifesting abilities that neither species should possess. Marcus found he could understand dragon script without translation, while Princess Kiara demonstrated an intuitive grasp of human technology that amazed them both. We're becoming something new, Princess Kiara realized during one of their sessions. Not dragon, not human, but a bridge between both. Marcus nodded, feeling the truth of her words. Their bond was creating unprecedented possibilities, but it was also generating enormous risks. The medical droid's sensors would soon detect Princess Kiara's improved condition, and questions would inevitably follow. We need to be careful, Marcus warned. If your father discovers what we're doing, he won't, Princess Kiara said with newfound confidence. Let him remain blind to possibilities beyond his understanding. We'll continue our work in secret until we're strong enough to reveal the truth. But neither of them suspected that their transformation was already being monitored by forces far more dangerous than the Emperor's displeasure. Deep within the palace's intelligence networks, automated systems had begun flagging unusual energy readings from the abandoned wing. Someone was taking notice of the impossible recovery, and they would not remain hidden much longer. Commander Vexthor stood before a wall of monitors in the palace's security center, his scarred face twisted with suspicion. As head of Imperial Intelligence, he had built his reputation on discovering threats before they could manifest. The energy readings from the abandoned wing had triggered his most sensitive detection systems. Show me the data again, he commanded his subordinate, a nervous dragon technician named Kylvan. The readings began 3 months ago, sir. Initially just minor fluctuations, but they've been steadily increasing. Yesterday, we detected energy patterns that don't match any known dragon biology. Commander Vexthor studied the wavelength patterns with growing alarm. In his 40 years of service, he had never seen energy signatures like these. They seemed to pulse with a rhythm that suggested 2 distinct life forms working in harmony, rather than one individual. Has anyone investigated the abandoned wing recently? Only the human custodian assigned to general cleaning duties, sir. Marcus Chen. His access logs show regular maintenance visits, but nothing unusual. A human, Commander Vexthor mused, his eyes narrowing. How convenient. Run a deep background analysis on this Marcus Chen. I want to know everything about him. Meanwhile, Marcus was unaware of the scrutiny as he prepared for another bonding session with Princess Kyara. Her transformation had been remarkable. She could now sit up without assistance, her scales gleamed with healthy radiance, and her mind seemed sharper than ever. I've been thinking about our situation, Princess Kyara said as Marcus entered her chamber. My recovery can't remain secret much longer. The medical droid will eventually report the changes to Dr. Vexum. Marcus nodded grimly. I know. I've been researching escape routes through the palace's service tunnels just in case. No, Princess Kyara said firmly. Running won't solve anything. We need to find allies. People who can understand what we're becoming. Who would believe us? And even if they did, who would risk opposing your father? Princess Kyara's eyes gleamed with determination. My aunt, Lady Zexara. She's my father's younger sister. But she's always questioned the traditional ways. She runs the palace's scientific research division. Marcus was skeptical. Another dragon noble? They all seem to think humans are barely intelligent animals. Not Aunt Zexara. She's different. She actually reads human scientific papers for research ideas. If anyone would be open to the possibility of cross-species bonding, it would be her. Before Marcus could respond, they heard footsteps in the corridor outside. Both froze, listening carefully. The steps were too heavy to belong to the medical droid, and no one else was supposed to visit this wing. Hide, Princess Kyara whispered urgently. Marcus quickly concealed himself behind a storage cabinet as the door opened. Commander Vexthor stepped into the chamber, flanked by 2 security officers. His gaze swept the room suspiciously before settling on Princess Kyara. Your Highness, he said with mock courtesy. I was not aware you had recovered so remarkably. Princess Kyara met his gaze calmly, drawing on her newfound strength. Commander Vexthor, to what do I owe this unexpected visit? Routine security sweep. We've detected unusual energy readings from this wing. His eyes searched the room methodically. Tell me, has anyone been visiting you regularly? Only the medical droid and occasionally a human custodian for cleaning. Why do you ask? Commander Vexthor stepped closer, his expression growing more suspicious. Because your recovery is medically impossible. Dr. Vexum confirmed that your condition was terminal. Yet here you are, displaying better health than you've shown in years. Princess Kyara forced herself to remain calm, though her heart was racing. Perhaps the doctors were wrong. Medical science isn't infallible. No, Commander Vexthor said slowly, but it is predictable. Your genetic markers should have made recovery impossible without external intervention. He paused meaningfully. What kind of intervention have you received, Your Highness? From his hiding place, Marcus watched the interrogation with growing tension. Commander Vexthor was clearly suspicious, probing for evidence of their secret bonding sessions. One wrong answer could expose everything. I've received no treatment beyond what the medical droid provides, Princess Kyara said truthfully, though she omitted the crucial detail about her bonding with Marcus. Commander Vexthor circled her bed like a predator stalking prey. Interesting. Then you won't mind if I conduct a more thorough examination of this wing? Without waiting for permission, he began methodically searching the chamber. Marcus pressed himself deeper into the shadows, barely breathing as the commander's investigation brought him closer to the storage cabinet. Commander, one of the security officers called from across the room. I'm detecting trace energy signatures near this wall. Marcus's blood ran cold. The energy readings from their bonding sessions must have left detectable residues. Commander Vexthor moved toward the wall, his scanner beeping more rapidly as he approached Marcus's hiding spot. Just as the commander was about to discover him, an alarm sounded throughout the palace. Emergency lights began flashing, and a voice echoed over the communication system. Security alert in the main hangar. All available personnel report immediately. Commander Vexthor hesitated, torn between his investigation and the emergency summons. After a moment of indecision, he holstered his scanner. This conversation isn't over, Your Highness, he said coldly. I will return to complete my investigation. As soon as the security team left, Marcus emerged from hiding, his legs shaking with relief. That was too close, he whispered. Princess Kiara nodded, her composure finally cracking. He suspects something. We need to contact my aunt immediately, before he returns with more sophisticated equipment. How can we reach her without arousing suspicion? Princess Kiara thought quickly. You have access to the palace's internal communication system for maintenance requests, right? Send a message to Lady Zexara's research lab. Tell her there's a critical malfunction in the abandoned wing that requires her personal attention. Marcus used his custodial access codes to send the message, disguising it as a routine maintenance alert. Within an hour, Lady Zexara arrived at the abandoned wing, expecting to find a simple technical problem. Instead, she found her niece sitting up in bed, healthier than she had been in years, accompanied by a nervous human custodian. Aunt Zexara, Princess Kiara said quickly, I need you to listen to me very carefully. What I'm about to tell you will sound impossible, but I can prove every word. Lady Zexara was younger than Emperor Zixthal, with more vibrant scales and curious eyes that immediately focused on her niece's remarkable transformation. Kiara, you look. This is extraordinary. How is this possible? Through cross-species bonding with Marcus, Princess Kiara said without preamble. We've discovered that my condition wasn't a disease at all, but an incomplete genetic transformation that required human contact to stabilize. Lady Zexara's eyes widened with shock and fascination. Cross-species bonding? That's purely theoretical. The ancient texts mention it, but there's never been any scientific verification. Until now, Marcus said, stepping forward despite his nervousness. We can demonstrate the process if you're willing to observe. Lady Zexara looked between them, her scientific curiosity warring with disbelief. After a long moment, she nodded. Show me, she said. But if this is some elaborate deception, the consequences will be severe for both of you. Princess Kiara and Marcus joined hands, focusing their energy on the bonding connection they had developed over months of practice. Almost immediately, the air around them began to shimmer with visible energy patterns. Lady Zexara's scanner detected readings that defied every known law of dragon biology. Impossible, she breathed, staring at her instruments. You're generating unified energy fields. Your life forces are actually synchronizing. When they broke the connection, both Princess Kiara and Marcus were visibly energized, their eyes glowing with shared power. Lady Zexara sat down heavily, overwhelmed by the implications of what she had witnessed. If word of this reaches my brother, she said slowly, he will order you both executed. Cross-species bonding challenges everything the Empire believes about dragon superiority. That's why we need your help, Princess Kiara pleaded. Commander Vexthor is already suspicious. We need protection, and we need time to understand what we're becoming. Lady Zexara was quiet for a long moment, weighing the enormous risks against the revolutionary potential of their discovery. Finally, she made her decision. There's a private research facility on the fourth moon of Kepler-7. It's completely isolated and equipped with the most advanced scientific instruments in the galaxy. If we can get you there safely, we might be able to study this phenomenon properly. And if we can't? Marcus asked. Lady Zexara's expression grew grim. Then we'll all face the Emperor's justice. But the potential knowledge is worth the risk. This could change the relationship between every species in the galaxy. Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of approaching footsteps. Commander Vexthor had returned, and this time he brought an entire security squadron with him. Lady Zexara, Commander Vexthor said with surprised respect as he entered the chamber. I was not expecting to find you here. Lady Zexara maintained her composure, though her mind raced to devise an explanation. Commander, I received a maintenance alert about energy fluctuations in this wing. As head of scientific research, I felt it warranted personal investigation. Commander Vexthor's eyes narrowed as he studied the scene. Princess Kiara lay in bed looking remarkably healthy, while Marcus stood nearby with cleaning supplies, the picture of an ordinary custodian. Lady Zexara held a scientific scanner, lending credibility to her story. How fortunate, the commander said slowly. My own investigation detected similar anomalies. Perhaps you could share your findings? Lady Zexara held up her scanner, showing readings she had quickly fabricated. Electromagnetic interference from the old power conduits. The abandoned wing systems are degrading and creating feedback loops. Nothing that can't be resolved with standard maintenance. I see, Commander Vexthor replied, though his tone suggested continued suspicion. And the princess's remarkable recovery? Natural fluctuation in her condition, Lady Zexara said with scientific authority. Terminal illnesses often show periods of temporary improvement before final decline. I'm afraid it's not a permanent change. Princess Kiara played her role perfectly, allowing her energy levels to appear diminished. She lay back against her pillows with a weak sigh, as if the brief conversation had exhausted her. Commander Vexthor studied them all carefully, his instincts telling him something was wrong but unable to identify the deception. Finally, he made a decision. Very well, but I'm posting guards at this wing's entrance. If these energy anomalies continue, I want immediate notification. After the security team departed, Lady Zexara turned to Marcus and Princess Kiara with urgent intensity. We have perhaps hours before he discovers my deception. The power conduit story won't hold up under detailed investigation. She began pacing, her scientific mind working through possibilities. We need to get you off-world immediately. How? Marcus asked. The palace security is among the tightest in the galaxy. There's a research transport leaving for the Kepler system tonight. It's carrying biological samples and scientific equipment to my private laboratory. We could smuggle you both aboard. Princess Kiara struggled to sit up. Aunt Zexara helping us escape would be treason. If Father discovers your involvement, you'll face execution. Lady Zexara's eyes blazed with determination. Do you think I care about my personal safety when we've discovered something this revolutionary? Cross-species bonding could transform every relationship in the galaxy. It could end the warfare between dragon houses, create new forms of cooperation between species. She pulled out a secure communication device. I'm contacting Captain Mordan of the research vessel Synthesis. He's commanded my expeditions for years and owes me considerable loyalty. As Lady Zexara made arrangements for their escape, Marcus felt a mixture of excitement and terror. They were about to leave everything familiar behind, venturing into unknown space with only hope in each other. Are you ready for this? He asked Princess Kiara quietly. She took his hand and immediately both felt the bonding connection strengthen. With you, I'm ready for anything. We're stronger together than either of us could be alone. 2 hours later, Lady Zexara returned with detailed escape plans. Captain Mordan will create a distraction in the main hangar while we slip aboard through the cargo bay. The transport launches at midnight. They had little time to prepare. Princess Kiara gathered a few personal items and ancient texts that might prove useful for their research. Marcus packed basic supplies in the tablet containing human medical knowledge he had been studying. As they prepared to leave, Princess Kiara took one last look around the chamber that had been both her prison and the birthplace of her transformation. I was dying in this room, she said softly. Now I'm leaving it more alive than I've ever been. The escape proved surprisingly straightforward. Lady Zexara's scientific authority gave them access to restricted areas, while Captain Mordan staged emergency in the main hangar, drew security attention away from the cargo loading zones. Within an hour, Marcus and Princess Kiara were hidden among biological samples aboard the research vessel Synthesis. As the ship prepared for departure, they felt the familiar hum of massive engines powering up. Attention all stations, Captain Mordan's voice echoed through the ship. Preparing for hyperspace jump to Kepler 7 system. Estimated travel time, 6 standard days. But their relief was short-lived. As the Synthesis entered hyperspace, emergency alerts began sounding throughout the palace. Commander Vexthor had discovered Lady Zexara's deception and realized that Princess Kiara was missing. Emperor Zixthul's rage shook the very foundations of the Crystal Palace. My sister has stolen my daughter and allowed a human to corrupt dragon bloodlines. He roared. Mobilize the Imperial fleet. I want them found and brought back alive. The human will face public execution, and my daughter will be purged of whatever contamination she has suffered. Prince Veltar stepped forward with barely concealed satisfaction. Father, perhaps this proves that Kiara was never worthy of the bloodline. Her association with a human demonstrates fundamental weakness. Silence, the Emperor commanded. She is still my daughter and she will return to face judgment. But first, I want to understand exactly what has transpired. He turned to Dr. Vexum with deadly focus. You will analyze every medical record, every genetic scan, every piece of data about my daughter's condition. I want to know how a dying dragon child suddenly became healthy enough to escape Imperial security. Dr. Vexum bowed nervously. Your Majesty, I will review everything immediately. But if I may ask, what should we do about Lady Zexura? The Emperor's eyes blazed with fury and betrayal. My sister will be arrested and interrogated. She will reveal everything about this conspiracy, or she will face the consequences of treason. Aboard the Synthesis, Marcus and Princess Kyara felt the ship settle into hyperspace cruising speed. They were hidden in a specially prepared cargo bay that Lady Zexara had equipped with life support and basic amenities. We made it, Marcus said, hardly believing their escape had succeeded. Princess Kyara nodded, but her expression remained troubled. This is only the beginning. My father won't give up easily. The Imperial fleet has some of the fastest ships in the galaxy. Captain Mordan's voice came through a concealed speaker. Your Highness, Mr. Chen, I'm afraid I have troubling news. Imperial tracking ships launched from the home system shortly after our departure. They're following our hyperspace signature. Marcus felt his heart sink. How long before they catch us? Perhaps 2 days if we maintain current speed. But I have a proposal. There's a neutral space station in the Proxima system. If we can reach it before the Imperial ships intercept us, diplomatic protocols would prevent them from seizing you by force. Princess Kyara considered their options. It's risky. The station would demand asylum hearings, which could take weeks, and Father has considerable influence even in neutral space. Do we have any other choice? Marcus asked. Before anyone could answer, new alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Captain Mordan's voice returned, now strained with urgency. Imperial fighters have just dropped out of hyperspace directly ahead of us. They're demanding our immediate surrender. Through the cargo bay's small viewport, Marcus could see the sleek forms of dragon warships moving to surround them. Their escape had lasted less than a day. This is Admiral Kexthul of the Imperial Guard, a harsh voice echoed through the ship's communication system. Research vessel Synthesis, you are harboring fugitives from Imperial justice. Prepare to be boarded immediately. Princess Kyara gripped Marcus's hand tightly. Whatever happens next, promise me we won't let them separate us. Our bond is the key to everything we might become. Marcus squeezed back, feeling their connection pulse with shared determination. Together, he said firmly. No matter what they do to us, we face it together. The boarding tubes were already extending from the Imperial ships, and heavy footsteps echoed through the Synthesis's corridors as armed soldiers began their search. Their greatest adventure was about to become their greatest test. Admiral Kexthul was Emperor Zixthul's most trusted military commander, known throughout the galaxy for his unwavering loyalty and brutal efficiency. As his soldiers swept through the research vessel Synthesis, he studied the ship's manifest with cold precision. Biological samples, research equipment, scientific data cores, he muttered. Captain Mordan, you've served Lady Zexara's research division for 15 years. Surely you understand the consequences of harboring fugitives. Captain Mordan stood at attention, his weathered face betraying no emotion. Admiral, I transport only legitimate research materials. My cargo manifests are complete and accurate. Then you won't mind a thorough search, Admiral Kexthul replied. I'm particularly interested in any biological samples that might be unusually active. In their hidden compartment, Marcus and Princess Kyara listened to the approaching footsteps with growing tension. The soldiers were conducting a systematic search, moving methodically through each cargo bay. They'll find us within minutes, Princess Kyara whispered. Marcus looked around their cramped hiding space, searching for options. The compartment was cleverly concealed behind false bulkheads, but Imperial military scanners would eventually detect their life signs. When they find us, Marcus said quietly, let me do the talking. I'm expendable, you're royalty. They won't execute you without a trial. No, Princess Kyara said firmly. We face this together. Besides, I have an idea that might work. She closed her eyes and reached out with her enhanced senses, feeling for the energy patterns of the soldiers searching the ship. Their bond with Marcus had given her abilities no pure-blood dragon possessed, including the capacity to influence emotions across species barriers. What are you doing? Marcus asked, sensing unusual energy flowing through their connection. Something that should be impossible, Princess Kyara replied with grim determination. I'm going to make them overlook us. She extended her consciousness beyond their hiding place, touching the minds of the searching soldiers. With delicate precision, she planted suggestions of boredom, routine, and the desire to move quickly to other areas. It was incredibly difficult. Dragon minds were naturally resistant to mental influence, but her hybrid abilities found ways around their defenses. The footsteps paused outside their compartment. Through the thin wall, they could hear a soldier operating his scanner. "Anything?" another voice asked. "Minor energy readings, but probably just residual charge from the research equipment. This section checks out. Let's move to Cargo Bay 7. Marcus held his breath as the footsteps moved away. Princess Kiara slumped against him, exhausted by the mental effort. "That was incredible," he whispered. "How did you do that?" "Human intuition combined with dragon mental abilities," she replied weakly. "I felt their thought patterns and found ways to redirect their attention. But I can't maintain it much longer." Their relief was short-lived. Admiral Kexthul's voice echoed through the ship's communication system. "Attention crew and passengers. My initial search has found no evidence of the fugitives, but I'm not satisfied. Princess Kiara possesses unique genetic markers that would be detectable by our most sensitive equipment. I'm ordering a full biometric scan of this vessel." Princess Kiara's eyes widened with alarm. "Biometric scans will detect our DNA regardless of any mental influence. There's nowhere to hide from that level of technology." Marcus felt their situation becoming desperate. In minutes, sophisticated scanners would identify Princess Kiara's unique genetic signature anywhere on the ship. Their escape attempt was about to end in capture and almost certain execution, but as they faced their seemingly hopeless situation, Captain Mordan's voice came through their hidden speaker. "Your Highness, Mr. Chen, I have a proposal that might save us all, but it will require enormous trust and considerable risk." "We're listening," Princess Kiara replied. "The synthesis carries emergency evacuation pods designed for deep space survival. If you can reach the launch bay, you could escape in one of the pods while I provide distraction." Marcus was skeptical. "Those pods are designed for short-term survival, not long-distance travel. We'd be dead within days." "Not necessarily," Captain Mordan continued. "There's a human research station in the Tau Ceti system. Approximately 3 days' travel in an evacuation pod. Dr. Sarah Chen runs advanced medical research there." Marcus felt his heart stop. "Sarah Chen? That's my sister. She specializes in genetic therapy and cross-species biology." "Then fate has provided us with an opportunity," Princess Kiara said with growing excitement. "Your sister would be the perfect person to study our bonding abilities." The plan was audacious and dangerous. They would need to reach the launch bay without detection, escape in an evacuation pod during the biometric scanning chaos, and survive 3 days in space while hoping Sarah Chen's station would accept refugees from the Dragon Empire. "The pods are equipped with basic life support and emergency rations," Captain Mordan explained. "But Your Highness, I must warn you, Imperial ships monitor all escape pod launches. Admiral Kexthul will pursue you immediately." "Let him try," Princess Kiara said with newfound determination. "He's never faced bonded individuals before. We might have capabilities that surprise him." They waited until the biometric scanning equipment was brought aboard, causing maximum distraction among the ship's crew. Princess Kiara used her mental abilities to create confusion among the soldiers, making them forget patrol routes and misplace equipment. Moving through the ship's service corridors, they reached the launch bay without detection. Princess Kiara's enhanced senses guided them past security checkpoints, while Marcus's knowledge of human engineering helped them navigate the unfamiliar systems. The evacuation pod was cramped but functional, designed to keep 2 passengers alive for up to a week in emergency conditions. As they strapped themselves in, Marcus felt the enormity of their situation. "We're really doing this," he said, "fleeing across the galaxy in a tiny pod, hoping my sister will risk everything to help us." Princess Kiara reached out and took his hand. Immediately, their bonding connection flared to life, filling the small pod with warm energy. "We're not fleeing," she corrected. "We're advancing toward our destiny. Whatever we're becoming together, it's bigger than both our species." The pod launched just as Admiral Kexithul's biometric scanners detected Princess Kiara's genetic signature in the cargo bay they had recently vacated. Alarms sounded throughout the Imperial fleet as the Admiral realized his quarry had escaped. "All ships emergency launch detected from the research vessel," Admiral Kexthul commanded. "Lock onto that pod's trajectory and prepare pursuit vectors." But the pod's small size and basic systems made it difficult to track in the vastness of space. By the time Imperial sensors locked onto their position, Marcus and Princess Kiara were already approaching the edge of the system. Tau Ceti system, 3 days, Marcus said, checking their navigation systems. Think we can make it? Princess Kiara smiled, her eyes glowing with the energy of their bond. With you beside me, I believe we can do anything. But first we need to discover what we're truly capable of. As their pod entered hyperspace, heading toward an uncertain future among the stars, Imperial warships began their pursuit. Behind them, the Dragon Empire mobilized its vast resources to recapture a princess who had discovered powers that could challenge the very foundations of galactic civilization. But ahead of them lay hope in the form of a human research station where Dr. Sarah Chen worked on the cutting edge of genetic science, unknowingly about to encounter the most important discovery in galactic history. The Tau Ceti research station floated in the cosmic void like a gleaming spiderweb of metal and glass. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the main laboratory, analyzing genetic samples from 17 different species, when emergency alarms began sounding throughout the facility. Dr. Chen, we have an unidentified escape pod requesting emergency docking. Her assistant, Dr. Kim, called from the communication station. The pod appears to be of Dragon Empire origin, but it's broadcasting human distress codes. Sarah frowned, setting down her molecular scanner. Dragon Empire pods don't typically carry humans. What's their status? Life support is failing, and they claim to have critical scientific data. Dr. Chen, the person requesting asylum, says he's your brother. Sarah's blood ran cold. Marcus, put him through immediately. The communication screen flickered to life, revealing Marcus's tired but determined face. Behind him, she could see movement. Someone else was in the pod. Sarah, thank God you're alive, Marcus said, his voice strained with exhaustion. We need emergency asylum and medical assistance. I'm traveling with Princess Kiara of the Dragon Empire, and we've made a discovery that could change everything. Marcus, what are you talking about? You're a custodian in the Dragon Palace, not a researcher. And why would a dragon princess be traveling in an escape pod? Before Marcus could answer, Princess Kiara moved into view of the communication system. Sarah gasped at what she saw. The dragon's scale shimmered with an energy pattern she had never encountered, and her eyes held an intelligence that seemed almost human in its expressiveness. Dr. Chen, Princess Kiara said, speaking perfect human standard language, we've discovered functional cross-species bonding. Your brother and I have formed a connection that enhances both our species' capabilities. We desperately need scientific sanctuary to study this phenomenon. Sarah stared at the screen in disbelief. Cross-species bonding was purely theoretical, dismissed by most scientists as impossible due to fundamental biological incompatibilities. That's impossible, she said. Dragon and human genetics are too different for meaningful interaction. Watch, Princess Kiara said simply. She reached out and took Marcus's hand. Immediately, the escape pod's communication system began displaying impossible readings. Energy patterns that shouldn't exist flowed between the two life forms, creating unified biological signatures that defied every known law of xenobiology. My God, Sarah whispered, staring at her instruments. You're generating synchronized bioelectric fields. Your neural patterns are actually merging. Sarah, we need help, Marcus pleaded. The Imperial fleet is pursuing us. If they capture us, they'll separate us permanently. But more importantly, they'll suppress this discovery. The Empire can't allow proof that dragons and humans can form equal partnerships. Sarah's scientific mind raced through the implications. If cross-species bonding was real, it would revolutionize everything from medicine to interstellar diplomacy. The potential for breakthrough discoveries was enormous. Docking Bay 3, she said decisively. I'm activating emergency medical protocols. As the escape pod docked, Sarah assembled her best research team. Dr. Kim specialized in neurological interfaces, while Dr. Patel was the galaxy's leading expert on comparative genetics. Both scientists waited in stunned silence as Marcus and Princess Kiara emerged from the pod. The Dragon Princess was clearly exhausted, but she moved with grace and dignity despite her ordeal. More remarkably, she and Marcus seemed to move in subtle synchronization, as if they were aware of each other's intentions before they were consciously expressed. Dr. Chen, thank you for accepting us, Princess Kiara said formally. I understand the risks you're taking. The risks pale compared to the potential discoveries, Sarah replied. But first we need to address your immediate safety. Imperial ships are undoubtedly tracking you. Dr. Kim stepped forward with a concerned expression. Dr. Chen, I'm detecting unusual readings from both subjects. Their biological signatures are unlike anything in our databases. Show me, Sarah demanded. The scanner revealed energy patterns that seemed to flow between Marcus and Princess Kiara, like visible bridges. Their neural activity was synchronized to a degree that should have been impossible for two separate individuals. Fascinating, Dr. Patel murmured. It appears their nervous systems are functioning as a unified network while maintaining individual consciousness. Princess Kiara nodded wearily. The bonding process enhances both species' natural abilities. Marcus has gained dragon-level intelligence and sensory perception, while I've developed human creativity and emotional flexibility. But there's more, Marcus added. We can share memories, thoughts, even physical sensations. It's like becoming part of something larger while remaining yourself. Before the scientists could continue their analysis, emergency klaxons sounded throughout the station. The main screen lit up with tactical displays showing multiple contacts approaching at high speed. Imperial warships dropping out of hyperspace, the station's AI announced. Admiral Kexthul is demanding immediate surrender of the fugitives. Sarah felt her heart sink. The research station was strictly neutral territory. But the Dragon Empire's military might could easily overwhelm their defenses. This is Admiral Kexthul. A harsh voice echoed through the communication system. Research Station Tau Ceti, you are harboring fugitives from Imperial justice. Surrender Princess Kiara and the human Marcus Chen immediately, or face the consequences. Sarah activated the station's communication array. Admiral, this is Dr. Sarah Chen, Station Commander. We are a neutral research facility operating under galactic medical protocols. Any individuals aboard this station are under our protection as research subjects. Your medical protocols don't supersede Imperial sovereignty. Admiral Kexthul replied coldly. The princess is a dragon noble who has been corrupted by alien influence. The human will be executed for crimes against the Empire. Princess Kiara stepped forward, requesting permission to speak. Admiral Kexthul, I demand to address the charges against us under Imperial law. The communication screen flickered, and Admiral Kexthul's scarred face appeared. His expression hardened when he saw Princess Kiara's transformed appearance. Your Highness, your condition confirms our worst fears. You've been contaminated by human contact. Return immediately for purification and medical treatment. I haven't been contaminated, Princess Kiara said with quiet dignity. I've been enhanced. The bonding with Marcus has made me stronger, smarter, and more capable than any pure-blood dragon. Admiral Kexthul's eyes blazed with fury. Heresy, dragon superiority is absolute. No alien contamination can improve perfection. To prove her point, Princess Kiara reached out and touched one of the station's computer terminals. Through her bond with Marcus, she had gained intuitive understanding of human technology. Within seconds, she had accessed systems that should have required years of study to comprehend. I'm interfacing directly with your computer networks, she told the Admiral calmly. Human creativity combined with dragon processing power. Together we can achieve things neither species could accomplish alone. Dr. Patel stared at his instruments in amazement. She's actually communicating with our systems through bioelectric interface. The processing speed is incredible. Admiral Kexthul's face contorted with rage and disgust. Abomination! You've perverted the purity of dragon genetics with alien weakness. No, Marcus said, stepping beside Princess Kiara. We've discovered that cooperation is stronger than domination. That diversity creates possibilities that purity can never achieve. Through their bond, Marcus and Princess Kiara drew upon each other's strengths. Their unified consciousness began interfacing with the research station's defensive systems, using human intuition to guide dragon-level computational power. Dr. Chen, Princess Kiara said urgently, we can protect your station, but we need your help to transmit our research data to the broader scientific community. The galaxy needs to know that cross-species bonding is possible. Sarah made a decision that would echo across the stars. Do it. Whatever data you've gathered, we'll broadcast it on all scientific frequencies. As Marcus and Princess Kiara began uploading their bonding research to the galaxy's scientific networks, Admiral Kexthul realized that his mission had expanded far beyond capturing fugitives. He was now facing a threat to the very foundations of Dragon Empire ideology. All ships prepare for assault, he commanded. We cannot allow this heresy to spread. The final confrontation between old beliefs and new possibilities was about to begin. The research station's defensive shields flared to life as Admiral Kexthol's warships opened fire. Energy beams that could shatter planets struck the station's barriers, causing the entire structure to shudder under the assault. Shields at 60% and falling, Dr. Kim reported, his voice strained with fear. We can't withstand this kind of firepower for long. Princess Kiara and Marcus stood hand in hand at the station's central control console, their consciousness merged with the defensive systems. Through their bond, they had discovered abilities that transcended anything either species had achieved alone. Sarah, how long until the research data finishes transmitting? Marcus asked, his eyes glowing with shared energy. Another 3 minutes to reach the main scientific networks, Sarah replied, monitoring the broadcast systems. But I don't think we have that much time. The station shook again as another volley struck their shields. Through the viewports, they could see the massive forms of Imperial warships maneuvering for the killing blow. Admiral Kexthol, Princess Kiara spoke through the communication system, her voice carrying new authority. I offer you one final chance to avoid disaster. Withdraw your forces and allow the scientific data to be transmitted. Admiral Kexthol's laugh was harsh and bitter. Your Highness, you're no longer qualified to make demands. You've corrupted yourself with alien contamination. The Empire will be purified of your influence. Then you've chosen to learn the hard way, Princess Kiara replied with quiet sadness. She turned to Marcus, and their bond flared with unprecedented power. Together they reached out with their consciousness not just to the station's systems, but to every piece of technology within range. The effect was immediate and shocking. Imperial warships began experiencing system failures as their own computers turned against them. Weapons targeting systems suddenly couldn't lock on to the research station. Engine controls became unresponsive. Life support systems fluctuated wildly. What's happening? Admiral Kexthol demanded as his flagship's bridge erupted in alarms. The fugitives are somehow interfacing with our systems, his technician reported in panic. They're using our own ships against us. Through their enhanced abilities, Marcus and Princess Kiara had discovered they could influence any technology that contained processing capabilities. Human creativity combined with dragon computational power created a form of technological telepathy that neither species possessed alone. This is impossible, Admiral Kexthol roared. Dragons don't have technomantic abilities. Pure dragons don't, Princess Kiara agreed through the communication system. But bonded individuals do. We've become something new, Admiral, something your empire isn't prepared to face. As the Imperial fleet struggled with their rebellious systems, the research data finished transmitting to scientific networks across the galaxy. Within minutes, xenobiologists, geneticists, and anthropologists on hundreds of worlds were analyzing proof that cross-species bonding was not only possible, but revolutionary in its implications. Dr. Sarah Chen watched the transmission confirmations with growing excitement. It's done. The data is out there. Even if the Empire destroys us now, they can't suppress this discovery. But Princess Kiara and Marcus had no intention of being martyrs. Their bond had shown them possibilities that extended far beyond their individual survival. Admiral, Princess Kiara said with calm authority, I'm going to demonstrate why cooperation is superior to domination. Through their technological interface, they began broadcasting to every ship in the Imperial fleet. But instead of attacking or controlling the crews, they shared something far more powerful, memories and emotions from their bonding experience. Dragon crew members suddenly felt what it was like to experience human compassion, creativity, and determination. They felt Marcus's unwavering dedication to protecting a suffering child. Regardless of species or status, they experienced the joy of discovery, the excitement of learning, and the strength that came from voluntary cooperation rather than enforced hierarchy. The effect was profound and immediate. Throughout the Imperial fleet, dragons began questioning everything they had been taught about human inferiority. They felt the genuine emotions, the complex thoughts, and the sophisticated moral reasoning that humans possessed. Sir, Admiral Kexthol's second-in-command said hesitantly, the crews are reporting strange experiences. They're saying they can feel human thoughts and emotions. Admiral Kexthol's eyes widened with horror. The bonding wasn't just affecting Princess Kiara and the human. It was spreading to his own forces. All ships withdraw immediately, he commanded. "We're falling back to Imperial space, but it was too late." The revelation had taken hold. Dragons throughout the fleet were experiencing direct evidence that humans were not inferior animals, but complex, intelligent beings capable of thoughts and feelings as sophisticated as their own. Captain Mordan, who had been captured along with the research vessel Synthesis, suddenly found himself being released by his dragon captors. "Captain," one of the guards said uncertainly, "we've felt their memories. The human child protector showed such courage, such compassion. Perhaps we were wrong about their species." Similar scenes played out across the fleet as dragons grappled with the collapse of their fundamental beliefs about species superiority. Back on the research station, Marcus and Princess Kiara slowly disengaged from the technological interface, exhausted but triumphant. "It's working," Princess Kiara said with wonder. "They're beginning to understand." Sarah approached them with her scanner, documenting the energy patterns surrounding their bond. "This is the most significant breakthrough in xenobiology in galactic history. You've proven that consciousness can transcend species barriers." Over the following days, as news of the bonding discovery spread throughout the galaxy, response was swift and dramatic. Scientific institutions demanded immediate research funding to study cross-species relationships. Some governments called for diplomatic revolution based on cooperation rather than domination. Others, particularly those built on species supremacy, denounced the findings as dangerous propaganda. Emperor Zixthal's reaction was predictably violent. He declared Marcus and Princess Kiara enemies of the state and placed massive bounties on their capture. But his own forces were increasingly reluctant to pursue fugitives who had shown them a new way of understanding the universe. Lady Zexara, who had been imprisoned for her role in their escape, found herself released when her guards began questioning the justice of her imprisonment. She immediately joined the growing scientific coalition studying bonding phenomena. "My niece has opened a door that can never be closed," she announced at a galactic scientific conference. "Cross-species bonding represents the next stage of galactic evolution." But the most significant change came from an unexpected source. Prince Veltar, who had initially supported his father's harsh treatment of Princess Kiara, began secretly communicating with human researchers. The memory sharing had affected him more deeply than others, and he started questioning whether the Empire's aggressive expansion was truly justified. "I felt their emotions," he confided to Dr. Sarah Chen during a clandestine meeting. "Humans aren't animals or inferior beings. They're people with complex inner lives just like us." As months passed, the bonding discovery catalyzed changes throughout the galaxy. Species that had been enemies for millennia began exploring cooperative relationships. Scientific advancement accelerated as different biological perspectives merged to tackle complex problems. Marcus and Princess Kiara established the first interspecies bonding research institute on a neutral world, welcoming volunteers from dozens of different species. Their work proved that bonding wasn't limited to dragons and humans. Many species could form beneficial connections when barriers of prejudice were removed. "We started with a sick dragon child and a humble human custodian," Princess Kiara reflected during the Institute's opening ceremony. "But we discovered that the strongest bonds aren't forged by dominance or superiority. They're created by compassion, understanding, and the courage to see others as equals." Marcus, now recognized as a leading expert in cross-species psychology, added, "The universe is vast and full of different forms of consciousness. Our strength comes not from staying separate, but from learning to understand and support each other." Emperor Zixthal remained bitterly opposed to the changes sweeping the galaxy, but his power waned as more dragons embraced cooperation over conquest. The Dragon Empire slowly transformed from a militant hierarchy into a confederation of worlds where different species worked together as partners rather than rulers and subjects. Years later, when historians studied the transformation of galactic civilization, they traced it back to a simple moment of human compassion: a custodian who refused to let a sick child die alone. That small act of kindness had grown into a revolution that proved the universe's greatest strength lay not in the dominance of any single species, but in the bonds that could unite them all. The Emperor's sick dragon child had indeed been forsaken by her own people, but when a lowly human custodian acted with courage and compassion, their bond became the foundation for a new age of galactic cooperation and understanding that would echo across the stars for millennia to come.